Welcome to Diplomatic Passport, that daily weekday COVID-19 show that keeps you up to date with the developments of the world, in the region, and of course here in Zimbabwe. My name is Robert Mkandua. Now, it is tough to go the route if I told you so, for example. But this is where we find ourselves today. Because just yesterday, I was saying, with the level of complacency, it was a matter of time before Zimbabwe headed for a COVID-19 catastrophe. This is what I had seen, and this is what had fed my thinking. Now, yesterday, the sharpshooter that Wilson Kakurira had gone onto the street where patrol queues were back and a whole lot worse. Now, with such images, it was only a matter of time before things unraveled, and they have. Granted, the cases are mostly amongst truck drivers and returnees, but just one person back in the capital in queues like that, and it is a total disaster. Level 2, in my opinion, has not worked and has fueled confusion and danger. It is about to get a bit worse. Now, I might sound like an Amos, that proverbial prophet of doom, but it takes no divine revelation to see that we are brewing a disaster as a nation. Action needs to be now to deal with the numbers of people in the city. Now, these fuel queues need to be dealt with. If people stay at home, we will not see all of this. The nation is playing a game of Russian roulette. Now, very soon, our brains shall be on the roof. Today, the police started acting and encouraging social distancing and urging people to stay at home. It was a welcome move indeed. And these are some of the images that we saw. We saw the police actually getting onto the streets and warning people, telling them to at least keep that social distance. There they were, the police, they were talking to the masses in the capital there in Harare and urging people to keep their social distance and stay at home. It seems there's a thin line between our touts and the police. Of course, that's why they always are in their running battles, because one could have mistaken that policeman for a rank marshal. Now, today I dedicate the bulk of this show to menstrual health management issues, especially in a time of COVID-19, where period poverty has no doubt gone even worse, especially for the poor and marginalized. Now, in a sister program, Heartbeat, we went on and on about menstrual health issues. Issues for all people and issues for people, especially at a time of COVID-19. We ruffled feathers amongst extremists to whom menstrual health issues were women's issues and were that which we should not mention. Today we can safely stand with our chests out with pride because now we speak openly on the issues. That's because it is Menstrual Hygiene Day today. Now, Menstrual Hygiene Day, MHD or MH Day in short, is an annual awareness day on May 28 to highlight the importance of good menstrual hygiene. It was actually initiated by the German-based NGO WASH United in 2014 and aims to benefit women and girls worldwide. The 28th was selected to acknowledge that 28 days is the average length of the menstrual cycle. In low-income countries like our own, girls' and women's choices of menstrual hygiene materials are often limited by the costs, availability, and social norms. Now, adequate sanitation facilities and access to feminine hygiene products are one part of the solution. Creating a culture that welcomes discussion and makes adequate education for women and girls is of equal importance. Now, research has found that not having access to menstrual hygiene management products can keep our girls, our children, home from school during their period each month. Now, Menstrual Hygiene Day creates an occasion for us for publicizing information in the media, including social media. Public information campaigns can also help engage decision makers in the policy dialogue. The day also offers an opportunity to actively advocate for the integration of menstrual management issues into the global, national and local policies and programs. In fact, our partners Say What, the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe and PSI came through together to push issues of menstrual health in an insightful series that was supported by people like Jar Praiser, Stana, Jar Signal, amongst other allies, because it's important to have allies in such discourse. It also brought to the fore ambassadors for the cause. I am one of those ambassadors, but today it's not about me. Today on the program, I'm joined by far the most glamorous of those ambassadors, Sindikiwe Kademaonga. Welcome, Sindikiwe. Welcome to Diplomatic Passport, and it's a pleasure having you back again as we talk about the issues.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay. Now, you've had a year as one of those ambassadors of the MHM ambassadors. How has that year been? What have you been doing to at least publicize issues to do with menstrual health and management?
Okay, well, thank you so much. I think during this whole year, I've really learned a lot, and I've also realized that people do not have knowledge when it comes to menstrual health issues, because some of the things that I realized during the process were very shocking and very disturbing. So that's what
What are some of those things that you learned throughout this year that you found shocking?
Okay, so commercial case of I would understand good. Talking about menstrual health was a taboo, but I didn't know the extent to which it's really a taboo. So interacting with other people, that's when I realized that in some families it's like a no-no. So menstrual health is only a conversation between the mother and the daughter, and the fathers, the brothers, they are not really involved. So to that extent, I didn't know that it's really tense like that. Yeah.
And you and I both were part of this amazing initiative by the Swedish Embassy and of course by PSI to become ambassadors, to start speaking about these things, especially in the media. And it's important that we talk about these things, and we're now using social media because we would have these campaigns and go to schools and things like that, but people can't do that, especially because of COVID. And one of those campaigns was actually on the wall of the Swedish Embassy. Tell us about that campaign, as we actually have pictures, footage of some of the images of that campaign held by PSI that we've got today.
Okay, so the campaign was all about letting people know that menstrual health is natural. It's not a taboo. It's not something which is shameful. It's not something which is embarrassing. So that was the most theme of the campaign, and also to raise awareness and to educate people about menstrual health issues. Oh,
there you go. And we've got images up there of that campaign of very giddy people, including me, holding up a tab, a used pad, or something that looked like it was simulated to look like a used pad. And the idea was to say, you know what, we can talk openly about this. And there was the whole shock effect of that blood on that pad. I can say, of course, it's not a pad I had personally used. But looking back at that campaign, it shocked a lot of people. It caused shock and awe. But they didn't take it down, of course, because of that. But they got a lot of backlash. They got a lot of positive feedback. But there was a section of the public who said you shouldn't be displaying pictures of people holding what looks like a used pad. You got to hear about that. You got to see that on the social media. How did your personal circle take it? Your family, your friends, when they saw you with presumably a used pad?
For me, it was really a 50-50, especially on social media. A lot of people really supporting me, saying, "Okay, yes, you have to go for it." But my family members, I remember this other day when I put it on my WhatsApp status, and then my aunt, she called me and was like, so it was, mostly my relatives, they didn't really accept it that way, but social media, people were really supportive and they were cheering me up.
Absolutely. Now, you were part of this campaign because your story is a unique story. Your story is an even more profound story, because our women and girls have it tough anyway. The pads are expensive, and the choices are limited. Of course, we've got the menstrual cup, that butterfly cup. There are tampons, there are pads, but certainly your experience is unique, and that's why you came onto this campaign as an ambassador. Tell us about your unique experience and why you are different in terms of your experience.
Okay. My story was unique in a way you could say I don't have much option when it comes to choosing which material to use, either a pad or a tampon. Not because maybe I don't have the money to buy a tampon, but because physically I will not be able to use those kind of stuff. So that's how my story is different from any other person, because everyone is just complaining about the expenses and the economic disadvantage to some of the items that are being used. But for me, it's because of my physical appearance, yes.
And you shared some of your personal challenges. Last time you were talking about how you're not comfortable using a tampon, or you need the special sanitary wear. You don't even have those choices. People are saying we need more choices, we need access to tampons, we need pads, we need whatsoever. But you don't have that luxury.
Yeah, sure.
So tell us about your experience. How do you then get assistance, and what do you use, and do you need special assistance for that? Because that's the major question, because a lot of people say Ambassador Sinikiwe is different, and for women and girls in your situation, what do you do? What sort of help do you need? Do you need assistance by somebody else? And what products can people, young women and girls in your situation, use?
Okay. So my life in general is I live, maybe sometimes I depend on people for help on different things. And you know, when it's during that time, when you're in your periods, that's the time where you don't even need like people to really get close to you. You want your privacy. You want, so the only thing that can give me my privacy is using a pad. Because if I use maybe the reusable pad, I won't be able to wash. Now I need someone who can wash it for me. The tampon, now I need someone to insert, and you see. So the pad is the only thing that can make me independent, and it's the case for most of the women who have disabilities, that the pad is the only thing, because it's very easy to use. You use it and then you're able to dispose it in a bin. So,
And you see, a lot of people always think this is expensive, the pad is expensive, and the answer to that is a reusable pad which you can wash and reuse. But it doesn't seem to be an easy silver bullet for you in your instance.
Yeah.
But what made you this brave person to come out and start speaking about the issues? Because today we have you as a menstrual health or hygiene management champion, but you do a lot of other things. You inspire a lot of young women, and you obviously didn't grow up this empowered or this strong. What made you strong? How did you gain that strength to become that person who stands in front of people, tells her story, and inspires thousands, if not millions?
Okay. So growing up, I was never confident, because I just felt that I was different from everyone. I felt that I was ugly. I was the odd one out. I didn't look like other people around me. So I used to like hide. I didn't want to be in the public spaces, and most of the time I would see that because of that I won't have like a voice to speak whatever that I want to speak. Until in 2015, when I shared my story on social media, because I used to be on social media, but I just posted a face. I never posted a full body picture of myself, because I just felt that I was ugly. I didn't deserve to be in certain spaces. But on that day, it was on 3 December. It was the Disability Day. So I just posted my story, just generally, and then I told people how I grew up with my grandmother, the challenges that I faced. And then that's when I saw that people are really interested in knowing my story more. So from that day, I learned that if I want things to happen in my life, I have to speak out. I have to speak out for myself, because no one is going to come and speak out for me. So that was a trigger for me to get empowered and say, from today, I'm going to stand up and speak for other people who who are also in the same situation which I was in before. Yeah.
And how has that changed you as a person and changed your life? And how many people come back to you and say, you know what, you've touched our lives? How does that make you feel?
Wow, it has really changed my life. It has made me to be more confident, and it has also made me to be myself even more, because I've realized that people really connect when you're yourself, when you don't pretend to be the next person, when you don't pretend to be someone else. So because of that, I've really learned to be more confident, even more, to be more myself. And I really get a lot of feedback from people, not only in Zimbabwe, but all over the world. Because for me, I mostly use social media as the tool that I use to inspire people. So I get a lot of feedback from people all over the world. And some of the opportunities that I've received so far is through social media. Yeah.
Now, we neglected to talk about something last time when we had you on, and that was, of course, in relation to your education. So there were a lot of people who came through and said, oh, we learned with, I think it must have been in Mashonaland East or something like that, and people wanted to identify and say, yo, I was in the same class as her, and that sort of thing, and people were impressed by your credentials. So what did you do for your education, and how did you better yourself in terms of your education?
Okay, so I have a degree from the University of Cape Town, social work.
Social work at the University of Cape Town.
Yes.
You know, with the millions of us who actually wanted to have something from the University of Cape Town, and people were like, wow, and that really inspired a number of people, and that's something that's really touched a lot of people who've worked with, especially worked with you on this MHM campaign. We're going to watch something else. If you want to ask Snegiwe something, or if you want to send her any message before we wrap up, now is the time. You can comment on our social media platforms, on our Twitter, and here on our Facebook page, or of course on my Twitter handle at ZimRobbie. Tell us how you're inspired, and tell us what your dream is for the woman and the girl in this country. We'll be back after we watch this.
It's 28 May and it's Menstrual Hygiene Day. Now, this is happening in the crisis of COVID-19. And what this crisis has taught us is that poverty and inequality are not sustainable. They're no longer sustainable. They cannot be sustained. But today I want to speak about a very important and very relevant type of poverty, which is period poverty. Take your time and think about it. Somewhere in Zimbabwe, there are young ladies, young girls, who miss out on 4 days of education every month because they cannot afford sanitary wear and they cannot go to school because they're bleeding. In the very same Zimbabwe, some young lady musters the courage to go to school. Maybe she's using inappropriate and unhealthy options for sanitary wear, but she still has period pain and she cannot concentrate in class because there is pain that she is feeling as a result of a period that she's experiencing. Now, all of these things are not by choice, they're natural, they happen every month or on a regular period, whether the young lady makes a decision to or not. Do you realize that there's somebody who has to make the terrible choice between having something to eat or spending that little money that they have on having a dignified period? Now, this is why we have to keep on talking about this. This is why we have to widen the conversation and make sure that we're enacting laws, we're creating policies, we're creating a conducive environment that makes it easy for 52% of the population of Zimbabwe, which is female, to have an equal and fair chance. We cannot do that when we keep quiet, because when we keep quiet, we do not acknowledge the problem. When we keep quiet, we stigmatize the topic, and we have to hush off the topic. We have to remove the lead of the topic and make sure that we speak about it and we take the necessary action. I've done my part. Please do yours.
Well, that was another person who really is passionate about human issues, about developmental issues. That was Glenn Dliwayo there. He's currently in the United Kingdom as a shepherding student, and he is speaking to the dreams, hopes and aspirations of our women and girls, because those 2 or 4 days that our children, our girls miss of school every month, that means a lot, and that's cumulatively a lot of time lost from the classroom. And certainly we should, on this menstrual hygiene day, keep them in mind and keep our late women and girls in mind. On your role as an ambassador for MHM, tell me some of the things that you've done, some of the activities you've attended, and some of the lives you think you've impacted just as an MHM ambassador.
Okay, so for me, mostly I've talked about menstrual health especially to males, because I think those are the people who still think that maybe it's not for them, it's only for the women, it's not, So even my family members, I always have this conversation. I remember a few days ago when I was talking to my brother, I told him that I'm on my periods. So for him, he's just used to it. But then there was a lady who was listening, so I was like, So I've been having this conversation, especially even with young girls as well in my community, to just have a conversation about what they think about menstrual health, what they think should be done even better for them, education as well, So just conversation mostly.
Well, I'll share a very small experience of mine after we started working on as ambassadors on MHM. I had a lady or 2 or 3 from work walk up to me and say, well, I'm on my period, this has just happened, do you have pads? And lucky enough, I actually do have pads in my drawer.
Oh, really?
So those conversations tend to change lives and alter of course, the expectations of society, and people genuinely become very strong. So just as a parting shot, what do you have to say as an ambassador for MHM on this menstrual hygiene day? And of course, we'll, as mentioned, we want to thank the people who brought this to the fore, our partners Say What, the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe, PSZ, and of course PSI, who ran that big campaign that had the country talking. What is your message today?
I would like to say that menstrual health issues is not only for the girls and women, it is everyone's issue, it is the nation's concern. Everyone should take part in menstrual health, even in one way or the other, even just buying someone a packet of pads, or even just educating someone about menstrual health issues. So everyone should take part for us to have a better menstrual health issues, or even a better country. So it's for everyone. It's for everyone.
Yes. And of course, while we talk about demystifying these issues of menstrual health, we actually went to Masvingo, where we met a young lady called Melvin. She talks also about demystification of MHM menstrual health management related issues.
What I would want to happen is to demystify the thing yakuti menstruation is embarrassing, because it's not a choice. Menstruation is nature. Saka, I think what we have to do is to make it look the way it is. It's normal. Kwete kuti munhu uchienda kunotenga mapads kumashops, you hide them because people think it's not supposed to be seen, but we all know it's happening. You know, it's a delicate time for girls, especially young girls. Your first menstruation, unochika kana kuudza munhu because you don't know anything about it. No one talks about it. So what I would want is for us to talk more about it, to make it a comfortable subject for everyone, and to make sure kuti when a girl is on her period, it's comfortable. Pads right now, they are so expensive, you have no idea. But people don't even look at things like that. Students suffer, especially kuchikoro. Unengo shtuka una chikafu, uku the period is coming and una mari yacho yeped. That's why you see girls, they end up doing things that they wouldn't originally do from home. Not that I'm saying it's good what they do, but I'm saying let's make period yemono comfortable so that ukane stress ya assignment, ukane stress ya period. At least if we take off the stress ya nature, then to munake a stress kinema assignments and stuff, I think it's only fair because already musikana atori pa disadvantage kune mukomana because mukomana is no menstruation to worry about. Hana period pain, hana anything, is just going to school. Hana mapads ari kushota ukuthi unenge uchityika kuti mulecture tikagarisa ndichaspoila because mapads angu asi kukwana, you know, that kind of thing. Saka I think if we do my programs akamboitwa kuti we donate pads, we make my recyclable pads, we do those things, I think it will make a tremendous difference for the girl child because mostly they are affected.
A very profound presentation there coming from Melvin from Masvingo. She's a student in Masvingo. Now, just to touch on a small thing before we go on what you said, it's scary enough, it's tough enough having your first period. Now, what do you think is going through the life of a young woman who's having her first period at a time of COVID-19 where you, even if you had the money, you really can't easily go to the shops and access the products? That's a very different scenario there. What's your advice? Hold their hand and speak to them.
I think to the young girls, I would say find support or find someone that you're comfortable to talk to, because this is a young girl, this is a first period, she has no idea what's really happening to her. So find someone that you are really comfortable. It doesn't have to be your mother, even an aunt or even a friend. Find someone to talk to. Or
if you live in the same house, even your brother, me.
Yeah, even your brother, yes.
Yeah. So to every girl, woman, or ally, any man, and ambassador, happy Image Day, and continue to push the cause for our girl. To our partners, Say What, PSI, PSZ, and of course the Swedish Embassy in Zimbabwe, thank you for the continued development and health support that you give us. And to all of you, thank you for staying at home and staying safe. I'm Robin Kundiwa. See you tomorrow on Diplomatic Passport.